All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Tuesday, October 21st, and this is your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson, and this is All In Horns presented to you by Rogue Sports Network. Today's episode, we're going to take a more clear-headed approach and look at the Texas game against Kentucky, and maybe a little quick sneak peek at getting back on track against Mississippi State. And Billy Napier will discuss his firing at Florida and the college football landscape in terms of him and James Franklin and what the coaching carousel is going to look like this offseason. And then also take a quick glimpse at the new top 25 AP polls. So there's your episode for today. And Jake, let's start with Billy Napier. He gets canned. So Florida losing their coach, Penn State losing their coach, Indiana extending their coach. There's going to be a lot of names floating around at this point in time.
Yeah, and this is going to be the last high profile job open at the end of the year, I would guess either. So it's going to be very interesting to kind of see how the college football coaching landscape shapes out this year, because I think teams seeing in Indiana in the top three, seeing A&M actually be in the top three, seeing, some teams that have really never done it before, looking like they have a chance to do something this year. That's going to make a lot of programs feel like what's stopping us, and they're going to go out there and try to get the right guy, that I also think there's going to be a lot of trying to poach some big names as well. Now, Cignetti is not going to be one of those anymore. I don't think that contract they gave him is crazy. I mean, he's the third highest paid coach in college football now, only behind Kirby Smart and Ryan Day. So he's the highest paid coach that hasn't won a national championship.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a big shakeup in the college football landscape this year. Michigan, if they lose a few more games, they could be looking for a new coach. I think they should.
LSU.
LSU, I don't understand. I mean, again, I would have never hired Brian Kelly to go to LSU, so I don't understand why they did that. You've now wasted what you think are, you for sure wasted Jaden Daniels' career. And now Nussmeier, who I do think is a really good quarterback, and I think most people think is a really good quarterback and could end up being a really good pro, kind of wasted his career too, because they're certainly not going to the playoffs this year. No. They have multiple losses left on their schedule. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose to Alabama, lose to A&M, and lose to Oklahoma. Yeah, I would not be surprised if they lost all three of those games.
And if those three games end up in losses, Brian Kelly is anything but gone. I mean, he's gone.
You would think, but I would have gotten rid of him after last year.
I can very well see Texas A&M saying, Mike Elko, you got us to top three in the country at any point in time this season. Here's a 10-year extension.
Yeah, 10-year, $500 billion extension. 200 zillion buyout,
locked in with get locked in with Elko very, very early on. I could see A&M very much doing that. Oklahoma, Jake, if they have another bad year, do you think Venables is gone? I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, OU's a funky one because they're also looking for a new AD. Also, is the AD going to want to come in?
Didn't they extend Venables not that long ago?
They extended him when they came into the SEC. So whether OU's willing to pay that buyout, I think they're going to have to lose several more games for that to happen, which is a possibility with their schedule for sure. But with the new AD coming in as well, that kind of shakes things up. So OU's an interesting situation. They definitely could, but I wonder if OU would go, let's wait a year, let our new AD come in, kind of get sorted, figure things out, let all these big profile schools find their coaches, and then come in next year and take who we want, not have to compete with Florida, have to compete with Penn State, have to compete with all these different schools hiring coaches. So OU's an interesting one. Oklahoma State needs a coach as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's been a very good football program basically our whole lives. And you would think the NIL era would be good for them because they have big donors, and they have just been they held on to Gundy too long, and they've
Clemson
really
might
paid the price for it.
if Dabo. I mean, we don't know Dabo's future at Clemson because we don't know the future of Clemson. Florida State. We might be seeing Florida State. Mike Norvell. He might be gone.
Surely they're looking for a new coach. The wheels have completely fallen off there. How the hell they beat Alabama is beyond me. They just lost to Stanford, who is horrible.
It might be the icing on the cake for Mike Norvell.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a in-season move on that soon. Napier got fired after a win. Like,
the chants from the crowd after beating Mississippi State at home,
because it was a game they should have won by 20 with how the game played out.
Right, and their home crowd is just chanting "Fire Napier," and then within 24 hours he's gone. But yeah, Jake, I think this is going to be a crazy coaching carousel type year in college football.
And according to Texas fans on my timeline, Texas should be looking for a new coach. So who's Texas going to go out and
at the very least an offensive coordinator? That's what I've seen mostly.
Yeah, honestly, I wish someone else was calling plays this year, because then it'd be just like how we transferred from Ewers to Arch, and everyone wanted Ewers gone. Now everyone wants Arch gone. If a different coach was calling plays this year, everyone would go, why isn't Sark calling plays? Because guess what? The offense would look the same as it does right now. It would look worse. No matter who in the entire country was calling plays for Texas, the offense would look the exact same, if not worse. Probably worse.
Probably worse. It was the worst offensive performance under Steve Sarkisian at the University of Texas.
Yeah. And what's unfortunate is the offense isn't fixable until the offseason because it's personnel. They gotta get more speed at wide receiver. The wide receiver isn't near as big of a need as some of the other areas, but I do think they need to get someone with some serious like barn burner speed like they've had. And I think they need to get a running back as well. And then they absolutely have to get multiple offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Because the offensive line is the number one key issue to this entire offense. It is the offensive line.
A complete overhaul.
It's just not fixable. They had 3 linemen grade out at less than 40 in pass pro in that game.
I mean, it leaves you speechless to just because, and of course, everybody is on the Arch sucks train. And last week it was Arch is amazing. He's back. Welcome to the college football landscape, Arch Manning. Steve Sarkisian is making all the right adjustments that you need. And then you go into Kentucky, which every team in the SEC has struggled at Kentucky at one point or another, at least under Mark Stoops they have. And then you kind of have the game you had on Saturday night. And all of a sudden, it's back to Arch Manning just as terrible. Arch Manning didn't play great. He was rattled. He was doing his sidearm stuff. He was doing his Uncle Rico stuff. His mechanics fell and failed him yet again in a game where he got rattled. But you can't call plays whenever the offensive line is playing like they're playing, and the running backs don't have the running game that you want to have and want to establish. And then wide receivers are dropping passes and your quarterback's missing open guys. What is Sark supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I went back and did a quick rewatch. I only watched the offense for time's sake because I know that's going to dominate conversation. They left easily 150 to 200 yards out in the field. And I had said that after the game, and it was even more clear rewatching it how many yards they left on the field that were just drawn up perfectly and called perfectly, just with basic execution. I'm not talking like making a great play or making a really hard catch or just not getting beat by a 3-man front and pass protection where he has less time to throw than the Kentucky quarterback had to throw all game. You like just basic fundamentals of offense execution. They put up probably around 27 points. Sure. And the game's never competitive.
Yeah. And
which was basically what we expected. That was kind of our final score predictions was around 24, around 24 points.
I think we had 24-10. You and I both had 24-10 as the as our finals, and the defense would have allowed that if the offense didn't fail them as many times as they did.
Yeah, and so it just,
or
for
if they
me,
could
it's
recover a fumble.
Yeah, or yeah, good grief. Can't recover muff punts or fumbles, but yeah, it's just I'm sure Sarkisian is just as frustrated. And was all the play calling perfect? No. Do I think some of the play calls that weren't great or that I didn't like were just him trying to do something that broke tendencies to just catch the defense off guard and create a big play? Yeah, that's what I think most of those were. Because when your offense can't, when you can't run a simple mesh concept on third down and short and have a wide open completion, whether it be from pass pro breaking down multiple times or when the one or two times, and I do mean the one or two times pass pro didn't get completely torched, Arch missed the throw. Like what, and you're not running the football well against a team that you should have been able to run the football well against. I don't know what people are wanting. If you want to blame Sarkisian for anything, blame him for his offseason decisions. Because at the end of the day, he just chose to listen to Kyle Flood. He chose to listen to the new running backs coach. You know, he chose to listen that they didn't maybe need to go get a fast wide receiver. Like he made the decision to not be more aggressive in the portal in those areas because he is the final say. So if people want to talk about something to blame Sarkisian for, that's the conversation I'm willing to have. When it comes to they need to find a new play call or any of that stuff, I just don't say. I mean, the things and I'm going to say this every time this year whenever Texas, because this isn't going to be the only ugly game we see this year, but it's just like, it's just seeing people go, I'm really starting to question if Sarkisian's the guy. This is starting to feel like the Herman era. It's like, this is 1 year after going to the playoffs 2 years in a row.
It feels nothing like any era we've had.
They lose this game in the Herman era. At least they won.
Yeah, dude.
The fan base makes it to where I
defend.
The fan base gets me so mad. They get me more mad than the football team does, to where I'm sitting there defending things that I think aren't good. But it's just like you're being just completely unreasonable.
Yeah,
I've unfollowed like probably 100 Texas fans this year.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because I picked up all those followers whenever Texas made the playoffs that first year, and it was every Longhorn fan gets 1K. And I remember at the time thinking, like, this is probably going to end up being a bad idea. It was. I've unfollowed so many people.
Most of mine were political choices that I was just like, you're flooding my timeline with just something I'm
There's
not
been
interested
multiple that have been unfollowed just because it's like, oh, you don't even talk about football.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I am on X purely for sports and
for
memes.
sports news and updates and So, Jake, let's go ahead and let's talk a little Mississippi State of what we think, just briefly. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it. But Blake Shapen and this offense for Mississippi State seem to be playing pretty well, and they are so much more of a competitive football team than they were a year ago. It'll be Texas's first time traveling to Starkville, playing at Mississippi State since joining the SEC. The cowbells are going to be loud. They're going to be obnoxious. Surely this coaching staff is going to be planning around hearing those cowbells at practice and trying to get communication set up. That the thing that could kind of concern me is the defensive communication in a hostile environment like Mississippi State, where this team solely is going to be relying on the defense to win football games, which, by the way, Anthony Hill, if you haven't watched his interview over the weekend, he kind of got a little snippy with it with a reporter. No, not Colin Simmons. I beg your pardon. Colin Simmons.
That was Colin Simmons.
Yeah, and Colin Simmons in the full 100% right. I'm defending Colin Simmons, by the way. They asked about defense and special teams and saying that Sark didn't mention the offense whenever he said how important it was for those two, sides of the ball to win this last game. And he said, and the offense. He said, well, Sark said defense and special teams. He said, well, it was the offense. And I'm sure Sark wanted and meant to say defense, special teams, and offense. And when the offense struggles, the defense has their back. When the defense struggles, the offense has his back because we're a team. And he just kind of like let it all out there. A little bit of frustration, you could tell, but also more so just I'm defending my program, I'm defending my team, I'm defending my offense, and more importantly, I'm defending my coach and my quarterback as well.
Yeah, it makes you know there's no doubt about the buy-in of the program.
Yeah.
There may be fans wishy-washy on whether they buy into the team or whatever. They'll still watch, but one thing's for sure, the players are still bought in. The defense isn't sitting there blaming the offense. They're standing up for the offense, which that's a lot of character to show to me, especially for a true sophomore to be doing that in a game where the offense did fail you. But you went out there and won the football game at the end of the day. And so I guess according to SEC fans, we've gone through our rite of passage now with struggling in Kentucky in a night
maybe
game.
we'll beat Georgia now that we
ugly.
finally beat Kentucky at home.
Yeah,
now.
the rite of passage is the gateway into beating Georgia. But it is good to see that. Like there's no doubt to me that the players are still bought in, because at the end of the day, if you're a player at Texas right now, your thought is everything's still out in front of us.
Yeah.
Our goal to win a national title at the start of the year, it's not gone. Like it may be dead to the fan base. It's not dead to the players.
Well, the team was just as excited when that field goal went in from Mason Shipley as they were when they beat Oklahoma. I mean, they were just as excited and pumped up and fired up and celebrating on the sidelines and after the game.
But doesn't the OU game count as 2 wins on their schedule? Or wait, does it count the same as this one?
It counts the exact same, believe it or not. And so,
okay.
Yeah, no, and then going into Mississippi State, Jake, on a 2-game win streak, Mississippi State is going to be hungry for a win, and they feel like this is probably a great spot for them to get that win.
Yeah, I mean,
in conference play.
They've lost 2 out of their last 3, or they've lost 3 in a row. 2 of their last 3 have been very close games. The A&M game was very competitive until A&M kind of pulled away in that third, fourth quarter. And Texas has been a bad road team this year. Look at the games where the UTEP game is really the only home game where the offense was just horrible. But games on the road have been Ohio State, 7 points. Florida, 21, but the offensive line looked putrid. And then Kentucky. And now you're going to go to Mississippi State. And Mississippi State, lost that close game to Tennessee just a few weeks ago at home. I think that was an overtime, 41-34. And then just lost a 2-point game to Florida. There's no amount of buy-in lost in that program. And, I mean, you would think when Texas was just 12.5 points favorites against Florida, you'd probably think, oh, they're like 9.5, 10.5 point favorites against Mississippi. I'm not saying that's where I would put the line. They're 6.5, and that line's going to be bought down. I would bet, because I don't think Texas is going to win by that much as of right now. Maybe I'm still a little emotional from the Kentucky game, but I don't trust this team on the road right now. They haven't looked good on the road, and Mississippi State has a much better offense than Kentucky. And I think the defense is going to give up some yards and give up some points in this game. And that concerns me because the offense is going to have to play better. And at this point, it doesn't really matter what Mississippi State's defense is. Everything's about what Texas is doing on offense, because the offensive line just has to be better. Hudson had been bad this year. Robertson was horrible. Brooks was Florida level again, by the way. I think Brooks graded out at a 9 in pass protection. A 9.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
Like, not a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 100.
9 out of 100.
Just to be very clear.
Yeah.
Worst passing grade I've ever seen from an offensive lineman.
Really bad. Really, really bad. And a lot of room for improvement for this offensive line, Jake. Brennan Thompson is the leading wide receiver for Mississippi State. A little revenge action possibility, revenge game for the wide receiver who was formerly a Texas Longhorn. But yeah, I mean, you look at this game and you think Texas should be able to have more offensive success against the Mississippi State team, who has not necessarily been just knockdown, drag out, phenomenal on that side of the football. But in terms of matchups, I think Mississippi State might bode pretty well against this Texas team, Jake.
Yeah. I don't know what my prediction is going to be at the end of the week yet.
No,
I can tell you right now, I'm leaning towards picking Mississippi State to win outright.
yeah, no, I'm
I don't
with you.
trust this team on the road. I don't think it's a great matchup. At this point, you've had the offensive line look bad every single game of the season, really outside of because I don't even count Sam Houston State.
Oklahoma's an
really
outlier.
outside of one. Oklahoma is the outlier right now. And they still weren't great in that game.
No, they weren't. Hey, let's see how the All-In Horns entry went. For those who don't know, after we hear this word from Underdog. Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code HORNS to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code HORNS. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games. 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. For those who rode with us on the All-In Horns entry on Underdog, we hit our first two legs of the entry. Obviously, the Puka Nacua entry was nullified, and then Xavier Worthy. We were just waiting for Xavier Worthy. If he got a receiving touchdown or a rushing touchdown, they handed the ball off at Kansas City sometimes as well, and just got tackled at the 2-yard line in like the first quarter. And then they just force fed a felon really, in Rashee Rice, just a hit and run type of performance for the wide receivers there for the Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah, Rashee Rice gets 2 touchdowns. Hollywood Brown got a touchdown. They dominated 31-0. So Raiders weren't even playing football in the second half against the Raiders. And so really had a first half to try to get a touchdown with Xavier Worthy. But guess what? We're going to be back next week. Actually, I've had a pretty successful week this week on Underdog. I know that I've had a rough last 2 weeks. I'm in the plus this week. And so definitely feeling much better about my entries over the weekend with Underdog. So Jake, anything else? And we will get another All-In Horns podcast entry for you this upcoming week. We gotta do the homework on it first.
Yeah. The Worthy one hurt when he got taken down at the 2. You're like, oh, it's not happening.
Yeah,
it's gonna be one of those.
Yep.
This is gonna be one of those. So yeah, I was disappointed in that, but I also had a pretty decent weekend on Underdog. And so overall still happy. Hopefully we can get an All-In Horns winner next week though.
Yeah. I also cashed in on like a 6-3 higher on the total score for the Green Bay Cardinals game. It was 44.5. At halftime it was like 10-3 or something along those lines. So I cashed out and got, earned like $2 back. They ended up hitting the higher in that fourth quarter where they scored like 40 points just in that quarter alone. I was like, really? We're gonna
a lot of weird high scoring fourth quarters in the NFL.
That's why sometimes you just got to ride it out. But hey, I wasn't mad about the cash out. I thought it was a good play. It just ended up on the back end of it just not being great. So, but all right, that's going to do it. Jake, real quickly before we log off, top 25 poll was released. Let's at least mention the top teams. We did kind of hint at some of the rankings already. Texas A&M sitting at number 3. Indiana moves up a spot to number 2 following the Miami loss on Friday night to Louisville. Miami, They dropped 7 spots from number 2 to number 9. They're sitting 1 spot ahead of Vanderbilt, which I don't think I necessarily agree with, to be completely honest with you. Ole Miss drops 3 spots after losing to Georgia on the road in a hard-fought game there. Oregon jumps 2 spots up. And I think this is where I really have an issue is Oregon's one loss, sure, is to Indiana, but their best win is an overtime game to a 4-loss Penn State team on the road. There's no reason why they should be ranked ahead, in my opinion. Oregon should not be ranked ahead of Georgia Tech, Miami still. Yes, they lost. It doesn't mean they're a worse team, but Georgia Tech should be ranked higher, and I think Vanderbilt should be ranked higher than Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon has no business being ranked where they are. They're just riding off that Penn State win that is
Means
meaningless. and they played one good team, really, at the end of the day. They got them at home, and they kind of got dominated. They got stuffed into a locker by Indiana, and they haven't come out. And I don't know. I again, AP voter, I just don't like the AP polls. I look forward to whenever we can start to see what the committee is thinking, because sometimes it is different from what the AP voters are thinking, and I'm hoping a team like Oregon will be more punished. Not necessarily even punished, just put where they should be compared to a team like Vanderbilt not being higher is purely because of their name.
Notre Dame is another one where I'm really annoyed. I know their 2 losses is to Miami and Texas A&M. So technically, I guess you could make the argument that their 2 losses are better than a Tennessee. But Tennessee, their 2 losses are against Alabama and Georgia, and Tennessee sitting at number 17. Notre Dame sitting high and pretty at number 12. I don't love this Notre Dame team, and I know they're going to sneak into the playoffs. They're going to be one of those teams in, because I think Vanderbilt's going to probably suffer another loss at some point this year. I think Oregon could maybe lose another one. I don't know. So this top 12 is not your top 12 going into the playoffs, is all I'm trying to say. And so Notre Dame is not going to lose another game until probably the playoffs.
Yeah, and this isn't last year's Notre Dame team. The funny thing is they have better quarterback play than last year, but the team is not as good as last year's team. This is going to be the classic get in the playoffs, lose in the first round Notre Dame team. All we can hope is that they don't get to host a game. They more than likely will, but I hope they do at least have to go on the road, because at this point I've accepted it. They're in the playoffs. USC was the last chance, and USC's not even that good. And that game kind of went exactly like I expected it to go.
Yeah.
And so I, other than maybe I thought it'd be a little higher scoring, but yeah,
but the rain had something to do with that. The weather kind of made it sloppier.
The weather did kind of, and it was still 34-24. It's not like it was a slugfest.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah,
Virginia, Jake, Virginia should be higher ranked, because I don't know if Virginia has another loss on their schedule for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I don't know if they should be higher ranked right now, though. I mean, they're
at North Carolina.
Their big win is Florida State.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. At North Carolina,
Florida State
at Cal,
just dropped to Stanford.
Wake Forest, at Duke. Duke will probably be favored in that game, more than likely, and then Virginia Tech at home. So, but Virginia, they still have a chance to win the ACC though, and get that automatic bid, regardless of what their ranking is. LSU's the furthest team to drop in the rankings. They're number at 20. They dropped 10 spots. Texas also dropped a spot. They're sitting at number 22. I don't really care at this point where Texas is ranked or not ranked. Doesn't really matter to me. I just want them to win some football games. And then Texas Tech, after their loss, they dropped 7 spots from number 7 to number 14, which thought was kind of a heavy drop for Texas Tech after everybody was praising and so high on Texas Tech over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And then they lose to Arizona State, and then they drop 7 spots.
And they were playing with their backup quarterback too. So just though their backup has looked really good this year. And
by the way, Arizona State storming the field. Am I right or wrong in thinking that that's a waste of a storm fielding. I'm pro for storming the field, by the way. I want to make that perfectly clear. Storming the field when you just went to the quarterfinal in the college football playoffs and won the Big 12, when Texas Tech hasn't even won the Big 12, and you win it in your first year, and then you go and storm the field against that team. I don't know. I didn't love the storm fielding for ASU fans on that one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that take. I thought it was kind of corny to storm the field. I know Texas Tech was a top 10 team, but you were picked to very potentially win the Big 12 this year.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Really bad loss for Tech though, because now they're a loss or two away from not making the playoffs, and with how much they've spent on that run, that's a coaching job that could open, by the way. If they don't make the playoffs this year, Joey McGuire should absolutely be fired, because that roster is so much better than every other Big 12 roster. It's silly.
Oh, I didn't
And
put
if
my
they
name
don't
out
make
there
the
for Florida's job. Matt Campbell, I think, would be a great fit from Iowa State.
Yeah, but they're going to be like, people are so reactionary. There's going to be like, well, Iowa State's not doing that good this year. That Florida's going to try to get Kiffin, and we're going to see if Ole Miss is going to fork up the money to keep Kiffin, because they should. But they're going to go, well, we lost to Georgia. Well, Ole Miss has Ole Miss is just not a program.
Kiffin might be crazy enough to take that job.
Is it crazy though? If
Kiffin, no.
He
is the type of person that's like, oh, I don't care where I'm at. If I think it's a better job, that's where I'm going.
And if you're Kiffin, I imagine your goal is to win a national title. What program gives you a better shot at winning a national title? Ole Miss or Florida? It's Florida.
Florida, without a doubt.
If I was Kiffin, I would take it. I would trust that and hope that you can keep Lagway. I mean, that's a good selling point to keep Lagway too, going out and getting a Lane Kiffin.
Unless Ole Miss is going to fork over some moolah.
But Florida will fork over plenty. You can get just as much money.
We like to call it Gatorade. They got donors. They got some money there in Florida.
I can tell you, I hope Kiffin stays at Ole Miss. I don't want him in Florida in the SEC.
I agree.
I hope Florida screws up this hire. I hope they get someone and don't end up being good. But
they could get James Franklin.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. To go to go from Sunbelt Billy.
I could see James Franklin maybe not fitting in, but I could see him going to like an Oklahoma State and doing fairly well in that conference. And
that's an interesting one to throw out there. Oklahoma State could be a good fit for James Franklin.
Yeah. I think that would be.
Though I think everyone might shy away from Franklin, but you feel like for Oklahoma State, you could probably buy him low right now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he was a very successful coach everywhere he's been.
You know why he didn't get. You know why he got fired, right? Is because he built the expectations for that program to win and compete for a national championship, and they didn't do it. Why were they projected and hyped up to win a national championship? Is because of what he did as a head coach.
Yeah, this is the most consistent Penn State has been in our lifetimes.
Yeah. And we got here at the end of Joe Paterno and that whole debacle. So there was a big falling out with Penn State football for a period of time whenever we were, in our adolescence. So, all right, Jake, let's go ahead and wrap up the episode. If you've made it this far into the episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And there's no reason for you not to have already liked, shared, and subscribed to the channel if you've made it this far into the episode. So Texas will get ready for Mississippi State on the road with the Cowbells. One more road game before we finally get back home to Austin. And it's been 2 months, it feels like. That's Jake Jimerson. I'm Tanner Carlson. As always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.